and even the authorship. Okay? I mean, I'll make it easy for you. New Jerome's Commentary, edited by Raymond A. Brown, a Catholic scholar, who is very hard for the whole gospel. You'll be blown away. To this day, you don't know who wrote the Gospel of John, whether it was John the son of Zebedee, John the presbyter, or John. There are three candidates. We don't know. We don't know which John wrote the Gospel. We don't know. So there is no comparison. So try not to use Islamic terminology, because if you start doing that, you're landing yourself in a quagmire. Why? Because you're gonna before the conversation begins, the gospels will be thrown on the wall because they don't stand even the basic test of authenticity. We have categorization. We have Sahih, Hasan li ghayrihi, Hasan li dhatihi, then we have Da'if, and then we have Mawdu. We have different categorizations. So we have different levels of certainty for the tradition of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anything that's dubious or questionable, not necessarily a lie, it's just questionable. There is an individual in the chain that we cannot ascertain whether he was of a sound character. We put it aside. We don't take our beliefs from it, right? When it comes to the Gospels don't even pass the threshold of mawdu', fabrications, outright fabrications. And we have shown that's the case. So there's no comparison. That's why Islam was needed. Christianity was completely corrupted. The Jesus tradition was completely changed and corrupted. It was mixed with other ideas.
Thoughts.
Hellenic thinkers, Greek philosophers, Stoic philosophers are adding their ideas into the words of Jesus Christ, who was an Israelite preacher, an Israelite radical, you can call him a propagandist if you like. You know, he came and he did his radical preaching and he disappeared. Okay? We have a belief about him that he was lifted alive. He wasn't even touched. He wasn't even scratched by his enemies. The Christians came to believe, due to the Gospels, that are untrustworthy, as already highlighted. They believe that he was put on the cross and nailed to the cross and brutalized. So this is why we have to choose. It's either this corrupted tradition, completely untrustworthy, added to, altered, interpolated tradition, or the other hand, we have a claim to prophethood from a man in Arabia, Muhammad.
Come forward, it's interesting.
Next to this is Steve
okay.
Scholar.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting discussion.
I'm here to learn, not to.
Actually, it's interesting discussion. I always, learn from both of you. Actually.
Yeah.
And we have an amazing.
Paul
How
is
you
one of
doing?
my teachers. I'm not being
And
humble.
I learned.
He misspoke. It's the other way around.
Actually, he's an expert.
He is my
Actually,
teacher. He is my teacher.
Okay.
He is my
and I am their teacher. Their teacher.
and he is both our teachers.
Don't take the other hand.
Kiss your hand.
How are you both? Okay.
Alhamdulillah, good to see you.
Good to see you too. We have an interesting, discussion.
Okay.
He had a PhD in religious studies, actually.
Excellent.
And actually, he is someone. He had a unique, actually, approach about Christianity. To be honest, one of the things. And we had in the beginning of a discussion about, for example, the holistic message of the Bible. He was saying about that. It is in generally all the Bible they have this kind of the same kind of concept or monotheism.
Worship one God.
Yeah. So the
Exactly.
Hey, you gotta say yes.
Have
and
you
amen.
ever had a conversation with Paul before?
I don't know, Paul.
Have you
Okay.
read
You-
Psalm
you-
45,
yeah,
verse
yeah.
6 and 7?
Yeah.
Wait, just,
I think
let's let him
we
finish.
should.
I don't wanna interrupt.
There's several.
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's good to have it like.
No,
Yes, Paul. Yes, say.
No, I'm just saying.
Of course, I've read the Psalms.
No, but particularly Psalm 45,
I have read the Psalms.
where the king is addressed as God, and
Okay.
then that God addressed as another God.
Okay, so this is quoted in the book of Hebrews.
Guys, can I
Your
pass
throne,
the
O
mic
God.
on to Paul? I
No,
want
no,
this
it's
conversation
Psalm
to take
45.
place.
Psalm.
But stay around.
I will stay, but I want Paul to.
Do you have a Bible? I knew
Paul,
I
continue.
should have brought a
Please
Bible with me.
continue.
I didn't bring the.
We've got lots of Qurans,
We have
which is
Quran.
great, by the way. Which
I'm
is
currently
great.
busy, and afterwards maybe.
But I could Google for you.
I mean, to be fair, what I'm trying to say is that the language
Which one?
of God
What do you want
is
me to-
used
what do you want
in
me to get?
Psalm 45. Is used of human beings as well. And
Okay.
so when we say that the Bible is monotheistic, sometimes it uses divine
Look at
of
this guy.
human.
Do you get this all the time?
No, I don't. No, this is a rare privilege for my teacher to
No,
share his
I really
microphone
want
with
this
me,
Okay.
and in front of my teacher as well. So in Psalm 45, as I say, verses 6 and 7. For example, your throne, O God, will last forever and ever. This is the throne of David. So David, or if it is the David, or it could be another king. But the point is that the king has been addressed as God. And so the language of deity
Put it into Hebrews, like I said.
is used of human beings as well as Yahweh himself. So when you say it's simply monotheistic, sometimes it can use language which is polytheistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to say that from the very first verse, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The verb created is singular masculine. That is the same to the very last page. There is monotheism that is taught from the first to the last page. So if you want to talk about, for example, the poetic books of Psalms, by all means do that. However, you cannot stray from the message of monotheism, which is at every page of the...
No, I'm just saying sometimes the biblical writers use the language that is properly given to God. They use it to other beings as well. Now, I'm not trying to make a big deal. Well, what I'm saying, I'm not saying that the Bible is polytheist. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's
Of course not.
when
Okay, did you hear that? You
No,
did not say it
it's
was
not.
polytheist.
But
Okay,
when
good.
you said the Bible is monotheist begin to end, I thought, not really. There are passages where polytheism is implied, where human beings are called God, and then they say that God has a God, which
So-
means there's at least two gods.
Let me ask you this question. Is the sacred name for God found in Exodus attributed to angels?
What is the sacred name?
Well, for some who are Jewish here, they may not want to hear it, but
No, I'm not
Yahweh.
Jewish, don't worry. No.
Yahweh.
I would say it's not Yahweh. Do you know why I'd say that?
Okay.
I would question again. Again, you say these things, and I'm thinking, I know what you mean, but I don't think you're quite right.
Okay.
I mean, if you've done a PhD, you know what I'm going to say.
Continue.
You know what I'm going to say.
Well, there are many words for God. So
No. Why did I query what you've just said about Yahweh?
I have no idea what's in your
You
mind.
don't know.
Please tell me.
I'm impressed. You don't know. No, seriously. We have no idea how this sacred name is pronounced. We simply don't know.
And that's
no
why
one
I
knows.
also
All we
hesitated.
know, exactly. All we have are 4 consonants in the Hebrew. We don't know what the vowels are. And why is that? Because the sacred name was only pronounced on the lips of the high priest once a year in the temple. The temple was destroyed 2,000 years ago by the Romans. We have no idea what the sacred name is.
So
All we
again,
have are this Yahweh. The Yahweh is a made-up word. It's literally made up. We have no idea what the
the
name
vowels
is.
are put in.
That's a very interesting take.
Yeah.
And there's another point. Yahweh, at best, can be traced back to the Hebrew language. The 4 letters you're talking
The 4
about, right?
consonants.
Yeah, 4 consonants.
So, Paul,
yeah.
again-
Wait, but how do we know that's the term, or those are the consonants were used by Moses when he spoke to God directly? What did he actually call him? Do we know? We have no idea. We don't know what language Moses spoke. We don't even know what Jesus spoke. There are estimates, there are opinions that he spoke a dialect of Aramaic that was spoken in Palestine in the 1st century CE. So this is also another angle to look at. Okay, do we even have the languages of the prophets? Do we know what language they spoke and how they actually spoke to God in what language? That's why when you claim Yahweh is the personal name of God, you really have a lot of problems.
We don't know that.
If you could just answer the
that's a
question,
guess.
was an angel or angels, or say judges, which were called that, were they ever called this sacred name?
But
Which
we don't know what it is.
Were they ever called angels? Yes or no?
Yeah, but we don't know what the name is. So to ask me if they ever called that is a bit of a moot point, isn't it?
Well, so the
we
answer
don't
is
know
no.
what it is. So
So
how
the
can I
answer is
tell
no.
you whether or not they were called that?
Right, so it would be
it's
in
an
the text.
impossible question. I
Would it
can't
be in the
answer.
text?
We can't answer. But I can say.
No, it's not.
But I
That's the
can
answer.
say that angels and others were called other names of
Elohim.
God.
Elohim.
Elohim.
That's right.
Yeah.
But not that name.
I'm on
right?
my own now without my teacher. But I have our senior teacher here who will correct me if I make mistakes. So the other names of God are used of angels. Moses is called Elohim. And even Jewish scholars, you know Philo of Alexandria, roughly contemporaneous with Jesus' life, he's probably the greatest Jewish Bible scholar in the ancient world, Philo of Alexandria in Egypt. And he wrote a marvelous commentary on the Torah, not surprisingly. And he actually calls Moses Theos. What's Theos? Theos is God. He actually
If we're talking
calls
about
him.
the Hebrew word, it is not the sacred
No.
name.
I'm
Continue.
talking in Greek. He was a Greek-speaking Hellenistic
I'm
Jew.
sorry. The word for the sacred name is not Theos.
We don't know what the sacred name is.
It's not. I'm sorry. The Septuagint
No.
would make that very clear
But
to you.
no, I'm talking
Have you
about.
studied the Septuagint?
I'm talking about.
Answer yes or no.
Yes, I have.
Okay. So what is the word that the
So,
why
were you aware
the
that
tetragramma? What is it called? What is it translated in Greek?
Well, as well, it's not. It's usually either Lord,
Which is what?
Kurios, or Adonai, which is their preferred one because it's not. But we don't know what the Hebrew word is.
So what is it translated
So-
into Greek?
Why did? My point is this: that even
Theos,
Jews
okay.
called Moses God,
It's not the way it's translated
and
ever.
in Psalm 45, the psalmist
Paul,
called
Paul,
a man God. All right.
The Greek word for the sacred name is never Theos.
I never said. Well, it's
I'm
Lord.
making a point.
It's Kurios.
It's
I said it
not
was.
Theos.
I said it was Kurios.
Right.
I actually said it was Kurios. I
yes.
never
He
said
said
it
it,
was
just
Theos.
said it.
I said
Yes,
it was
and
Kurios.
so we can't use the sacred name to say Theos of whoever you want
No,
to say.
but I'm
Philo
saying
said.
is that Moses was called God by the most
But not
respected
called, I'm
Jewish.
sorry, he was not called Kurios. He was not.
But it's not the only name for God.
Okay. But we understand.
Are you aware of that?
There are,
There are
figurative-
many names for God
So-
in the Greek language and in the Hebrew language.
Let's go to Hebrew.
And-
He understands and I understand. I think you understand it. There's something called figurative or majazi, and there's literal, hakiki.
course.
Okay? And I know he doesn't like me to use these terms, but it's Arabic and it's nice.
No, I know.
I'm sure he has no problem with
I have no
using
problem with that.
So we have to understand when you're going to Psalm 45, right? This is again the book in the books of what? Poetry. We have to understand there is
No,
figurative.
this is not poetry. This
It
is
is
devotion. No,
figurative
this is not
language.
poetry.
It is.
I don't think.
there
No,
are
I would
figurative
challenge the
language.
genre question there. I don't think Psalm 45 is a work of poetry. I think it's a work of doxology.
I would say it's the
a
work of
doxology.
installing a king, and there are poetic things about it.
Can I ask you, what does Son of God mean in the Bible?
What does Son of God mean?
No, I asked you.
I will answer, but I want
Why-
to hear
why-
first.
I'm
By
not
the way,
asking my friend, my
he's
teacher.
asking you. He's asking
I'm not
you.
asking my teacher. I'm asking you, sir, with the PhD. Well, what
Okay.
does Son of God mean in the Bible?
So, I will say that if you want to give me an exact reference, I would be very happy to answer.
Well, it's all over the Bible. So you pick.
So
you
give me an
pick.
example.
You pick
Pick
your
another
example.
place.
Go Old Testament or New Testament.
You pick one.
Okay. So first of all, the word son, it has some different meanings. Okay.
Okay.
If
So you agree that sometimes it has different meanings.
so, sometimes there's a figurative meaning, and if you would give me permission,
don't need
a
my
passage.
permission. You
There's
can-
a passage
this is
that
free
speaks
speech.
about, for
Speaker's
example,
corner.
it speaks about the word father, which is related to the word son. So where is this word father first used? It's in the Torah. And it is figurative language, and it's speaking about as a father, as a father carries a son. And it speaks about God, in a sense, caring for the nation of Moses that came out. Now, when we read that, is that hakiki, is that literal, or is this figurative? In the context, it's majazi. So we understand early tradition of the Torah speaking about the compassionate one. Go to the book of Psalms. You see that the first time, and this is a beautiful thing. In
So
Arabic,
remember my question was about the Son of God. I wasn't
I know.
asking
I'm
a
giving you
lecture
context.
about all these other
I'm
things.
giving you context because it's a complicated question.
But
and
it
I want-
is.
and I want to
Actually.
get to it. So just
I'll give you an
and
example.
Please don't interrupt me.
Adam is called Son of God in the beginning of Luke's Gospel. Adam is called the Son of God. There's a genealogy
Okay.
that starts from Jesus, goes all the way back.
David was
to,
Son of God.
And David, no, but Adam is called the Son of God.
Yeah.
So when we talk about sons of God in the New Testament, let alone in the Old, we're not necessarily talking about divine beings at all.
Out of respect, please don't interrupt me. I won't interrupt
No,
you.
but,
you interrupt
but-
me.
I was just getting your
Please.
focus. Your focus
No, I'm
was not on the
I'm
subject.
totally focused 100%.
I'm not sure it seemed like it.
Yeah, so you go to Psalms, and it speaks the first time about Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. It's a beautiful passage in which God is called the compassionate and the merciful.
Okay.
And of course we know that this is a beautiful aspect of God. A few verses later, it speaks again about him now in the Psalms as a father, and speaking about, again, connecting it with his compassion. I'm going to finish
Remember,
in a
it's the
moment.
Son of God we're talking about
hold on.
here.
Just a second.
But by the way, allowing you to talk doesn't mean you can go on indefinitely about not the subject we're talking about.
Oh, but see, son and father, they are the subject.
No, but when the
getting
Bible
then-
uses the expression Son of God, what does it mean?
So then getting to the New Testament, Jesus says, be compassionate as your Father is compassionate. So I want to talk about the idea of Father being, first of all, a figurative kind of language from the Torah, from the Zabur, from the Psalms, and in the Injil.
No.
And that is a beautiful
So
thing.
remember, we're
related
talking
to
about the
God.
meaning of the
And
term
again,
Son
it's-
of God
excuse
in the
me,
Bible.
Excuse me, it's merciful, and it's connected
so
to
what
the
does
word
Son of God
merciful.
mean in the
Now,
Bible?
when, for example, he says, blessed are the peacemakers.
We're not going to get there.
Blessed
Okay.
are the peacemakers.
But they should
You, you said I can choose the verse, so here we go.
Please.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God.
Exactly.
I want you to listen. Why are they called sons? Because of the tradition from the Torah, the tradition from the Psalms, and the tradition of the Injil. That someone who reflects God as a peacemaker to bring peace between
I know what
people
it means.
is
So-
full of
So
compassion.
is someone who is called the Son of God, are they a divine being?
I just gave you an answer to one
Is that
verse.
yes or no? That's what you said to me earlier, yes or no?
So are you
yes
on a
or
different
no?
verse or not? I said there are many meanings.
Yes or no?
You'll have to give me a specific verse.
Okay, well,
Because you didn't choose one.
Jesus, Son of God.
I gave you, okay, if Jesus is called the Son of God, does that mean he's divine?
Just give me the verse where he's called that.
What? You tell, there are lots of verses, does it mean he's...
The only begotten Son. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Why are you being so evasive? I'm asking a Christian,
Yeah.
when
Because
Jesus is called the
there's
Son of God,
different-
does it mean he's God?
there's
And he
different
won't
contexts,
answer.
My friend, there are many different
Okay, the
contexts.
context as a,
Thank
that's why
you.
he loved God. God loved the
Are you
world. He
ready?
has sent his begotten Son.
Thank
I'm
you.
ready.
Are you
Yeah,
ready?
just
You're gonna
answer.
love this. You're gonna love this, my friend. Are
Okay.
you ready for this?
Okay, yeah.
What does the word monogenes mean in Greek?
You tell me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul, are you a pastor, a scholar, or what are you?
I'm a student.
Paul is a
I'm
scholar.
I'm a
He's a
student
scholar.
of my teacher.
He is a scholar.
And we are students of our teacher, our senior teacher.
When I ask
This
you
is a reality.
word like
So,
monogenes, which is a word he just quoted.
Yeah, I know what it
wanna
means.
wind-
I know what it means. The question is, what does Son of God mean
I'm sorry.
in
Paul,
the Bible?
What does
That's the
monogenes mean
question.
in Greek?
I know what it means.
Answer.
It means the only begotten.
And wrong.
It means what, sorry?
Okay, this is incorrect.
Only begotten.
And this is something I got to talk to you about earlier. There are misinterpretations. Now, mana is the first part of the word, which we could translate only.
It is translated that way by Christians usually.
Okay, my friend, I wish you were a scholar because
I'm not.
you're
I never
showing
claimed
that
to be.
you're not.
I'm not a scholar.
Genes does not come from the word to beget.
Okay.
It means, excuse me, I'm going to finish without
Okay,
interrupting.
yeah,
but
say,
you-
say.
You've been
Genes
going
is
on
the
for
word
about 10 minutes
genus.
now.
I know, because that we're scholars and we want to
because
discuss
it's supposed to be a
scholarly information.
discussion, not a lecture. It's turned into an academic lecture.
Is actually where we get the word genus.
Now the
or
question is,
kind.
what
So
does
it is not
this-
begotten, it is
Okay,
one of a
fine.
kind. And it has been
That's fine.
mistranslated,
So
Paul.
what does the Son
By
of
who?
God mean?
By who?
And by who, Paul? Who was it mistranslated by?
Well, you tell me. I'm not here to answer your questions.
Yeah.
You must tell us the answer.
Yes.
Now,
The
the question
mess
is this.
came from the
when
Christians.
when the
The
Bible
mess came
calls
from the
someone the
Christians.
Son of God, does it
Excuse
mean
me.
a divine being? No, it doesn't.
So the old
because
Latin, my
Adam is
friend,
called the Son of God.
My old friend, my friend.
Israel
the
is
old
called the
Latin-
Son of God.
He interrupted me. I'm
No,
gonna have a dialogue.
William,
it's a
William,
dialogue.
William,
It's
William,
a-
William,
it's
be
a-
patient.
It's a
Be
conversation.
patient. Be
It's a
patient. Be
conversation.
patient. Be
You-
patient.
You're just
because
going
he
on and
asked
on
you
and
a
on and on.
question, and you just
Really?
and you had the lecture.
Let him explain.
try-
Let him explain, and then you will get your time. No problem.
See, you ask him some
Let
question,
me
he
explain
answered you
what-
directly. Okay.
Let me explain what I'm asking, Mr. Grace. The reason, I'm not just random question. The problem is the original religion of Jesus, what he went around Galilee preaching, is one thing. And if you were, it's quite different from the religion that Christians follow today, the religion about Jesus. And one example is this, the term Son of God. In its original Palestinian Jewish context, in the Jewish Bible, Son of God was a metaphorical statement, a figure of speech. So Israel is called Son of God, David is called Son of God, angels are called sons of God. There are lots of different people.
They are called
Now,
gods.
And they are called gods, exactly. You shall be called gods. And Jesus quotes this in John chapter 10. But when Christianity was born after the time of Jesus, quite a different religion focused on Jesus
pray.
rather than his message.
I'll pray.
People who believed in the Greco-Roman world, they believed in gods and divinities and demigods and humans like Achilles who was semi-divine. The idea of Son of God became more metaphysical. it became more like you were a divine being in your nature. This was a paganization of Christianity. The meaning, the word, was the same, Son of God, but the Jewish understanding had been lost and it became Hellenized, it became Christianized. And so Christians today, when I ask them the question that you avoided answering, what does it mean for Jesus to be the Son of God? And you refuse to answer it. You gave a long lecture, which is pretty much not on the subject. The answer should have been, it means he was God. That's what Christians always say.
I had the same struggle with William because I would ask a direct
You want
question
simple
and we would
questions
go
to
around the
multiple
world.
different answers.
Right, so to finish what I was saying, so the term Son of God is very plastic, very elastic. It changes its meaning. The original Palestinian context, it means a human being. Blessed are the peacemakers. You quoted this, for they should be called sons of God. We can all be sons of God in that metaphorical sense, but Christianity, particularly the Council of Nicaea in the 4th century, where the Son is the same substance as the Father, homoousion. Here we have the hard metaphysical change of meaning, and now the Son of God means Jesus is God. And this is a corruption of the meaning. It is a bid'ah, it's a deformation. And Islam calls us back to the original understanding of who Jesus really was, a prophet, a Messiah, and not God. Even in your Gospels, Jesus denies he is God in Mark chapter 10, verse 17. So it really matters, but this term is a very slippery one. And I'm saying that Christians have used it in a very pagan, philosophical way, a metaphysical Son of God. Originally it didn't mean that. And there was no harm in the original meaning.
Absolutely.
No harm. Adam is called the Son of God in, I think it's Luke chapter 2 or Luke chapter 3.
Metaphorically speaking, for that time, in that context, it means it's not a problem, right? For Muslims, we cannot use this term because it leads to those conclusions.
Yes.
As the Christians ended up in the 4th century declaring him to be God altogether, completely God, like he's God in essence, right? And amazingly, the biggest opposition to these ideas came from the Christians themselves. There were no Muslims present, there were no Wahhabis standing there pushing down monotheism down your throat. No, it wasn't like that. There were Christian Wahhabis there. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be crude. Okay, okay. There were Christians who were saying this is paganism. This is an extension to the meaning of our religion. This is a development on what we have believed for the last 300 years. And they were the majority, by the way. Arius and
they were the majority.
Bishop Eusebius, yeah, his followers,
against Athanasius and his followers.
So you see, this question, who is Jesus, Son of God? What does it actually mean? Is he God? And if he's God, in what sense? Right? The Christians today who come to us, the Bible thumpers, the Bible bashers, they come to us. They give an impression that this doctrine landed from the heavens in a box. Jesus received it and he gave it to his followers, and then they lived happily ever after. It doesn't work like that. Paul,
if I can have a chance.
Yes,
Again,
please.
I
Just
want
talking to Paul.
finish what I was saying.
Talking to us.
Now, he gave me an exact reference, and I respect an exact reference because you have different references that may mean different things in terms of. Now, the word monogenes, again, I'm going to go back and say, it does not mean only begotten. That is not a good translation. Now, in the Old Latin, it was translated unicus, which is a good translation. It means unique, one of a kind, monogenes, one of a genus, one of a kind. And in the Vulgates, however, you have a very bad translation. So if you're a scholar, and I'm going to answer with a longer version because there is much more substance in this.
Can you make it concise, please, your answer, and not go on a long digression?
I didn't write a
Because remember,
dissertation.
With William, you have to bring him back to the.
Yeah,
again, you
remember, it's the
interrupted.
Son of God.
And again, you interrupted.
No, but I need to.
But you're discussing something.
I need to interrupt you because you're not focusing on the subject.
In that case, it means that he is unique, and if you read the rest of the context of it, there's a way in which he is unique in that context.
Okay, now
There's
can you respond to his point?
I'm saying that the original Palestinian Jewish understanding of Son of God was very different from the later Christianized, gentilized, pagan understanding of Son of God meaning a divine being. Are you aware of this transposition of meaning from one cultural context to another?
Give me a
From
specific
Palestinian
verse.
context. but I'm talking about the word, the term, the Son of God, not verses. We're not Bible thumpers here. We're talking about the term itself. The way later Christianity changed the meanings of words so they meant something very different from what they originally did. Which is why, as my teacher correctly says, Muslims no longer use this term as God has told us to, because it has been corrupted.
Exactly.
And it leads to misunderstandings. But originally, if we're historians, and my teacher is an historian, we can see it meant something quite different. And it's not a problem there, but it's a problem now because of the way the language has been changed and corrupted by the Christian church much later. How do you respond
Just
to
a
that?
quick
you
sentence.
ready?
I want to add.
please.
What Paul is saying is, Israelites in the first century in the Middle East, or let's say in Judea or Palestine, as we know it today, right, had a conception of the term Son of God. Yeah, absolutely. The conception of the term Son of God was not the same as what it became with Hellenic Christian thinkers in the 3rd and the 4th century.
creeds and
Do
councils
you
in the
understand that
church.
distinction? This is what Paul is talking about.
Exactly.
Can you address that, please?
Also, there is a bit because when the Catholic guy came here, he said to him, "You are my brother in faith." So he considered what he believes Jesus to be a son of God, which he believes part of God, part of the triune God. He considered him as his brother in faith earlier. So now he's saying there is something means unique, etc. By the same time, you are accepting as well someone to be your brother in faith who accept Jesus to be part of the triune God.
Yes.
So when you stand now here,
So does he. But we have made that distinction now. Can you address that very,
Unfortunately.
very specific distinction between the two ideas? The
Unfortunately,
Israelite
he's not here
and
to talk
the
about
Hellenic
this right
Christian
now.
thinking.
If I asked him, are you a monotheist? I only hope he would say yes. Would he say yes?
all the Christians, they say monotheist. It doesn't matter what they say.
Okay. So
Can
this
you
is
address
the
Paul's
issue.
question,
They believe
please?
in the Trinity,
Again,
and that's
yeah.
not
They believe in
Your
Trinity. They say
question-
monotheist. They believe in triune God as one God.
that's not
So they say that's how they use it. So you said to
Again,
him,
he's not here,
you are,
so I can't ask
no,
him,
he was here.
unfortunately.
You know, he's Catholic. Simple
He
as
left,
that.
so I can't ask him right
Any,
now.
any Catholic believes this. You said to him, you are my brother in faith because you accepted someone who believes Jesus to be part of the triune God, part of God.
We didn't
You
actually
accepted
talk about
someone
that
to
term.
be.
Actually, we talked about
He's
the
a
books.
Catholic. He's devoted. He is devoted Catholic. He preached Catholicism.
you know it better
he
than
gets
me.
baptized, and he said this through Jesus. He was saying even he was criticizing people who doesn't follow the Catholic Church. He said this clearly, and yet you said you are my brother in faith,
Because
which
you
means
said
you're
that we are
accepting someone.
divided.
Because he
you
probably
said
has
we're
the same
divided.
conception. The point is, what Paul spoke about
Yeah.
very clearly,
Yes.
highlighting the distinction between two realities. Son of God, according to the Israelites in the 1st century CE in Palestine, and Son of God, the meaning of it,
Yes.
in the 3rd and the 4th century with the Christian Hellenic thinkers.
Very good.
Can
Here
you
we go.
please, because the latter is pagan in its origin. The
Now-
former is kind of monotheistic, coming from the Israelite tradition. So there are, yeah. Can you address that, please?
Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to say two things and I'm going to answer that. Number one, out of respect, please don't interrupt me. And number two, I cannot deal, nor should anyone ever deal with generalizations. Generalizations are very harmful. You should be very specific. He was specific with me, and that specific verse was given. So you want to give me a specific? You said Adam. That was the only
It's not to
specific.
do with verses. This is
I'm
to do
sorry,
with historical
you gave me
change.
a
Are you addressing
It's
his
not
question?
to
Yes.
do with verses.
Yes.
Are you addressing the
Yes,
conception?
I am.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
Because the
Historical
one
theology.
thing, the
It's
one
historical
thing you
theology.
actually brought up was Adam was the son of God, right? And so, what is the definition in that? You said Luke chapter 2. I'll have to look and see if that was
It
3
could be chapter 3
or 2.
but
Okay,
it's there.
so. In this sense, we see in context, he's saying so and so of so and so of so and so and so. When we get to Adam, was there a father for Adam, like a literal father?
How did the Israelites?
No.
Yeah.
So the term son there is very specific. God did not get a wife and have a son named Adam. It's very much a more metaphorical.
Spiritual.
He's the father in the sense that there was not a real father, but we know from Genesis that he created him from dust, right? So in this specific one, the only specific one you gave me, this is the
I
meaning.
didn't give you any verses.
No,
Let
actually,
me
he
go-
didn't address your point.
No, can I clarify? I repeatedly said, and I'm beginning to, with respect, doubt your sincerity now. I've repeatedly told you I'm not referring to any verses. I've said this several times clearly. What I'm referring to is what we call historical historical theology, the way meanings of terms in theology or Christology have changed from a Palestinian context to a Hellenistic context.
Exactly.
But you insist on going back to verses, which I've told you I'm not referring to. This is not an exercise in proof texting from the Bible. It's looking at how ideas have transformed meanings in different contexts. The way the original Palestinian gospel was fundamentally changed by people like Paul and other later people at Council of Nicaea,
Yes.
Athanasius and Council of Chalcedon, to transform this gospel into something completely different. A metaphysical Son of God who is co-eternal with the Father, of the same substance, homoousion. This is the extraordinary transformation I'm referring to. Nitpicking on verses is completely irrelevant. If you insist on picking on verses, which are not my point, because I'm talking about historical movements over centuries, then we're not engaging.
I think with him, with William, we have to take it step by step. William.
Life's too short.
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying
I
to
mean, it's going to be dark in an hour. I've got a life. Seriously. If he's not going to address the subject, what are we doing here?
Let's try again. William, one second.
Yes, I don't want to interrupt you.
no.
I want to show respect.
Okay,
Go
the
ahead.
Israelite conception of the term Son of God, is it the same as the 3rd century Christian Hellenic conception of the term Son of God?
Hallelujah.
Simple question.
Yes or no?
Hallelujah.
3rd century, okay? And I want to just, as I get the
Please
floor
let
now
him
and,
answer.
and will not be interrupted, I first came to this sheikh and I said, I'm doing some research on the Muslim view of the gospel. He had some good
Not a
questions.
good
What do you mean by
start.
gospel?
This is not a good beginning to an answer to
And
this
so
question.
I didn't ask him about historical theology. I didn't ask him about historical theology. I'm more interested in the text, to be honest with you.
So you're not going to address the question.
So again,
After all
is
this,
there,
he's not
is
going to
there-
address it.
Is there a difference?
Listen, my question, I'll
Between
repeat
the 3rd
my
century
question.
Hellenism-
William,
I think we should give
I'm
up.
sure we could. I
William,
we could
life
say
is
there's
too
some
short.
difference.
William,
You asked a
William,
general
I
question,
must-
I'll give a general
William,
answer.
I must
Probably.
William, why
give
don't
it
you
to him.
just answer?
Okay.
Why don't you just answer the question? It's so
He-
simple.
he's not, Sheikh,
It is something
Sheikh,
simple.
he's not going to
Why
answer.
are you skipping
He's not
from the
gonna
answer?
Sheikh, let us help
what
him.
You, what
Let
you
us help
stand
him.
about it.
Let us give you the news.
You called someone who believe in the triune God, believe in Jesus to be Son of God, believe just to
Stick to this.
as a God. So you called him your brother in faith. So do you accept this? Do you still is he still your brother? in faith?
He will answer, inshallah.
Again, I don't know him, so I cannot answer your
Yeah,
Okay,
no
if
problem.
there is someone here,
Sheikh, this is a
devoted
different
Christian,
question.
believes that Jesus is God, is he your brother in faith?
Separate question. Where we are.
I can get to that.
Okay, answer. Is he your brother in faith? For example, me, if someone claims that
Sheikh,
believe
he's
in
gonna
Muhammad,
go on a
you
separate
know
tangent.
how much we love Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. If someone come today and he said I'm a Muslim, but I believe Muhammad is part of God, I will say you are a disbeliever, you are a kafir. You are not my brother. I will say directly. You see here, that's how it is. We clear. We don't have this.
The question we are asking him will establish the answer. So my question to you again is, the conceptions of the Israelites, the Israelite conception of the term Son of God, is it or was it different to the 3rd and the 4th century conception, Christian Hellenic conception of the term? Was it different?
Oh, I'm sure that the 3rd century may not have understood anything.
No.
This is
I'm
the
not talking
issue.
about century.
It's a general question. I'm going to give a
The
general
Christian
answer.
church fathers in the 3rd and the 4th century, they had a conception of the term Son of God, which was not necessarily the conception of the Israelites in the 1st century CE in Palestine. Do you agree with that?
Okay, let's say in
But do you
general,
agree or
there was a
disagree?
difference, but you're not giving
No.
me a specific
Do you
person.
agree with my rendition? Do you
Maybe,
agree?
but you're not
No,
giving
no.
me a specific.
I agree with it.
Yeah.
You agree with it.
All scholars agree with it.
Give me a 3rd century
Yes or
scholar.
no?
3rd century
Yes or
scholar.
no? Do you agree
3rd
with that?
century scholar.
Athanasius.
Go.
Athanasius.
Okay. And you're
Exactly,
asking if it was
Athanasius.
different from the Israelites of the 1st century.
Yes, 100%. Poles apart.
I can give you 20 people in the early church, all
Yeah.
prominent churchmen.
From the
theologians,
3rd and the 4th
bishops,
century.
Constantine the First.
Cappadocian fathers. Cappadocian fathers.
None of them believe.
Gregory of Nazianzus, Gregory of Nyssa, and what was the third?
It's
The
not
third
rocket science.
Cappadocian
It's
fathers.
obvious.
Cappadocian fathers. Two
the
Gregories,
Gregory
and Basil.
Nazianzus
Basil of
and,
Caesarea.
yeah.
Basil of
Yeah,
Caesarea.
and,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and
Again,
Fred.
my concern has never been with the 3rd and 4th century people. I'm interested in the 1st
No,
century.
it's this is
Yeah.
the question that
So,
we're
sure,
discussing.
I'm
you
sure
can't just
that
say
you
it's
could-
your concern.
I'm sure you
Will
can
you
find
can we
some
address
writings
the
in the
issue?
3rd
Because the
century.
Christian understanding of Son of God is radically different from the original Palestinian understanding. The criticism is, from Islamic point of view, is that Christians have made Jesus into a God.
Yes.
By calling him a divine Son of God.
Same essence
This
as God the
this
Father.
very language,
Yeah.
Son of God,
Yeah.
in its original Jewish Palestinian
Exactly.
context, did not mean that.
Exactly.
Because they could use this language of Adam, of David, of Israel.
All the
and
Israelites.
Angels.
All
and
the Israelites.
Israelites.
Israelites,
It did not
Israelites.
mean that. So we're saying this
Disciples.
this transformation
Jesus
of
calls
meaning,
them
the
sons of.
apotheosis of Jesus, whatever you want to call it, is not indigenous to the religion of Jesus. It is a later paganization of the faith, and we see it very clearly at Nicaea and Chalcedon and
100%.
Constantinople and Ephesus, where Jesus,
This is history.
where Mary is called the mother of God. You've been there. You can watch
Yes.
a YouTube video. It's actually
Yeah.
there in Ephesus, the place where Mary is called Theotokos,
Yeah.
the mother of
The
God.
mother of God, God-bearer.
Jesus' mother becomes divine. So,
Yes.
and the Quran
Hence
says
the
this.
Catholic prays to her. The Catholics pray to her just not because
Mother
they
of
like
God,
her,
spouse of the Holy Spirit,
because she
Queen
has
of the
divine
universe.
powers.
Even the Coptic prays to
Yeah.
her. The Coptic, they say,
I've been
Mother
to
of God. Yeah.
I've been to Latin America, Sheikh.
Yeah.
Every single street corner.
Yeah.
Okay,
They have that
they have a
statue.
statue of Mary. Jesus is not there.
Yeah, even
Mary.
Same in Rome.
Yeah,
Literally in modern
yeah, they're
Rome.
praying to Mary. So it's a Mary cult now. It's Mariology, by this is a field in
I'm going to
itself.
ask you a
But
question.
yeah,
I'm going to ask you a question.
But
Is
before-
Theotokos-
Why not answer a question?
No, 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 no.
Why not
Theotokos-
answer a
is
question?
Theotokos
Instead of
found
asking
in the
us
Bible?
questions,
Listen,
why not answer the question?
Let him ask and answer to
all
the same way.
all the
Theotokos found in the Bible.
Life's too short,
That's all.
dude.
it's not found in the Bible.
Okay, did you hear what he said?
No, I
Why
was
are we
just saying
talking
life's
about
too short.
Listen.
I want to
Really,
talk about
We
what's
we
actually
know
there,
we know that
specifically.
Mary was the mother of Jesus. We know that.
By the way,
right?
maybe Clara, correct me if I'm wrong. You said you are interested in the 1st century, let's say, understanding of the gospel, and you are not interested in the one who came after.
3rd, 4th
which
century.
means you accept the concept of the 1st century interpretation that Son of God means devoted person to God. Do you accept this?
I love all of the meanings from the 1st century. 3rd, I don't care about.
So
First,
they accept.
Again,
Son doesn't
he
mean.
gave one example, and he didn't even quote a verse. Give me more.
Coffee?
verses.
I'm not
Thank you.
questioning
Welcome.
the
Welcome.
I'm
Welcome.
interested in
Welcome.
verses. I'm interested in the idea of the Son of God, how that changed its semantic meaning in the paganization of Christianity. This has nothing to do with particular proof texting.
Now,
We're not
here's a
fundamentalists
question.
here. We're looking at
You asked
history.
your question.
History.
Ibn Asabil, or Ibn Sabil in Arabic, all right? It can be translated the son of the road, the path, maybe a visitor, someone traveling. The literal would be the son of the road,
The path.
the path. Now, as I've asked my Muslim friends, is this literal or figurative? All of them have said, well, this is a figurative, majazi usage.
That's fine.
And so we have to understand when the term father is used, it is majazi, it is figurative. When we look at the term son, it is majazi, it is figurative.
Okay, good.
So these are...
Sorry, gentlemen, can you move down slightly because it's clashing with two debates. Yeah, the two debates taking. Sorry, leave him alone. He's not interested in you.
That when they said about Jesus as Son of God, this is figurative, this is majazi. It's not necessarily, so Jesus is not Son of God as begotten as they say, rather than to say Jesus was someone, a godly person.
Again,
Yeah.
the word only begotten is a mistranslation of the Greek monogenes.
We're not talking about that. We're
Excuse
talking-
me, I'm going to
Why do you keep going back to that? You made it very clear to us. We listen. We hear once, and it's clear to us. You made it very
You
clear.
guys keep interrupting, I'm going to walk away.
So
I want to say and.
because he's not engaging in conversation, he's just going on
It
and on about
is
the same
figurative,
things.
and it is
I don't
figurative.
really see any point.
And it is figurative.
I agree.
Just
Thank-
like you said.
Nice talking to you.
Nice
Thank you.
talking to you.
Thank you.
Yes,
William,
yes.
seriously, without,
talking to you.
please, you're a nice person. We can talk to anytime, anywhere, because we can actually have a conversation, albeit without consequence sometimes, no problem. But we can talk to you, and because you're such a nice
But
person.
I
you
wish.
know.
You're. By the way, you're such a nice person again.
Yeah, you're polite.
But the
So
problem is
here are
you
the
are not
Christians.
engaging in the discussion.
You're not addressing the
Hear
questions.
about the 3rd century. my friend.
No, there are many things.
1 second, sorry. Oh, sorry. Take the mic, so I'm just gonna go and put milk in the coffee.
By the way, let's wrap up.
Go on.
Yeah.
No, don't worry.
Anyways, so I don't know what are these ones, but let's see.
Leave it, don't worry. You can hear.
Because they can hear, inshallah. So for my brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, at least we had today a very fruitful discussion, I believe. Now the only issue is that you could tell that the guy, he was just all over the place.
Absolutely.
He wasn't engaging with
I had high hopes because he said he had a PhD in religion. I thought, great,
Yeah,
we
we
can
can-
do business now.
we can have
Fantastic, an actual PhD. Unfortunately, he refused repeatedly to even
Yeah.
address basic questions of theology, basic questions of the Bible, and he kept on distracting and avoiding. And this is a great shame.
You know, and you know, the irony is that he came to criticize certain Islamic traditions initially when he came, and then after that I said to him, you need to understand. He said, I have my friend from Al Azhar. I said, it doesn't matter how it is. You have to engage with the things. Now let's implement this. Let's discuss the Bible first, and then we'll talk about, for example, certain Islamic traditions and all of these things. But anyway, at the end of the day, it was an overall. That some people, they are lost in philosophy, by the way. And he was.
I think he was just lost. I think he was just lost. I think he was lost in philosophy. I think.
May Allah guide him. But it was good. Allah Paul.
Anyway,
nice discussion. Allah barik
It's always an
Jazakallah
honour
khair.
to meet with my teacher, a
Jazakallah
man who
khair.
actually knows what he's talking about,
Allah
which is
barik
great.
fik. Jazakallah khair. Allah barik fik. Jazakumullah khair. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take the.
Thank you.